Hello, good evening. My name is Richard. This is Over and Over and Over Again. And tonight we are going to be looking ahead to a big game coming up on the weekend. It is Liverpool versus Arsenal from Anfield. Come and join us and let's talk about the game. So it's a big game, of course, coming up at this weekend, Arsenal versus Liverpool. Now, unfortunately, there's a slight change of plan to the show tonight. Our Liverpool guest that was going to be joining us, Jack, unfortunately, there's been a bit of an emergency. He can't make it onto the show now. So we wish him all the best. But the show must go on, as they say. So we are going to do the show anyway. Just me. We'll talk about the game. Obviously, you guys in the chat as well. You can all join in. Of course, there's lots of things to talk about. Not only the game on Saturday, which is a big game on its own. You know, we've had all this nonsense about the Super League again coming up today. So we'll have a little talk about that as well, what we think about that, how that's going to potentially affect the future of football, because it could be domestic football might change it. We'll come on to that. We got Gunnar down in the chat here, my friend. He says officials Chris Kavanagh has been appointed referee for Arsenal's match at Liverpool Anfield on Saturday with David Coot on VAR. Yeah, to be honest with you, it doesn't matter, does it? They're all as bad as each other, so I'm not really bothered who the referee is. We don't need to worry too much about the referee as far as I'm concerned. Dad says, hello, how you doing, my friend? Good to see you. Terry says, good evening, Richard. Dan, all in the chat. Come on, you Gunners. Don't cock this up like usual. Well, yeah, I mean, that's the one thing I wanted to start on, actually. And it's a shame that I say our Liverpool guy, Jack, couldn't make it tonight, because I would have been interested to know his thoughts on it. My concern, and I'm sure, you know, Terry and a few other people as well feel the same, that over the last, number of years, actually, when we've gone away from home to technically the big teams, if you like, we struggle. And it's not something that we can just put on Mikel Arteta, who actually, it was 4 years yesterday since he took over, by the way. So happy anniversary to Mikel Arteta. And it's not just over this 4 years, is it? This has been going on for quite some time now. I was looking earlier, and this is what I've found, that, you know, we haven't actually won away at Anfield in the league since September 2012. So that's a long time ago, isn't it? That's 11 and a half years. We've not won away at Manchester City in the league since January 2015. Again, it's a long time ago. We've only won once at Old Trafford since September 2006, just once in all of that time in the league. That is, there's been some cup wins in that time, but in the league, one win since 2006. We've only won once away at Tottenham since 2014. Again, a poor record away at Tottenham. And since Newcastle got taken over, and they've kind of become a bigger opponent, haven't they? They're in the Champions. They were in the Champions League this year. We've lost 2 out of the 3 games we've played away at St James's Park since their takeover as well. So when you're looking at those sort of big teams away from home, our record there has been poor for quite a long time. And this is something that has held us back. When it comes to winning big trophies, when it comes to winning the league in particular, you know, if you're dropping points to your nearest rivals or the teams that you're battling with for the title, then it makes it 10 times more difficult, doesn't it, to end up ahead of them when it comes down to the end of the season. And our record away from home has been really, really poor in these games. And particularly at Anfield. I'd say Anfield and Old Trafford have been the two worst ones, haven't they? I mean, yes, the Etihad in recent years, and you could say, well, that's Man City, everybody loses there. Well, actually, everybody doesn't lose there. You know, teams like Brentford have won there, Crystal Palace have won there 2 or 3 times. Crystal Palace came back from 2-0 down last week to get a draw there. When have we ever done that? You know, Spurs generally do well at the Etihad. So it isn't just because Man City are this great side in recent years. They are, but other teams have got results there. You know, we haven't even got a draw there since 2016 in the league, that is. We're not talking about cup games. I don't even think we've got a result in a cup game, have we? But anyway, this is the situation is that we find ourselves in, and not too much from this season actually gives me a lot of hope that Saturday's going to be much different. The only thing we got to look at is, if you remember last season's visit to Anfield, we were 2-0 up in 20 minutes, whatever it was. Should have won that game, shouldn't we? But again, it came back to that again. That kind of issue that we have in getting these games finished off and winning. 2-0 up at Anfield should have been enough. Yes, it was very early in the game, but from that point, you should see that game out and get the 3 points, especially in the position that we're in at that point last season, challenging for the title. And in the end, of course, we drew 2-2. Could easily have lost as well at the end. They had the chances, didn't they, in the final few minutes there. So Anfield has been a really tough place for us in recent years, but I say it's not just Anfield, is it? It's all of these tough away games. And this season as well, this will only be the third so-called big away game, if you like, tough away game that we faced. The previous 2, Newcastle and Aston Villa, that's our 2 defeats this season. Neither game did we score in. And yes, you could look at certain circumstances, and I've heard people say at Newcastle, you know, the goal, we know how suspect that goal was, but ultimately we had 1 shot on target at Newcastle. We didn't deserve to win that game. And if you're going away from home against a big team, you've got to do more than that. You've got to produce a performance more than that if people are going to really take you seriously in a title race. Aston Villa, yes, we maybe stepped up our performance from the Newcastle game. We were much better at Aston Villa, but we missed a few good chances. We conceded an early goal, and Villa managed the game well, and we wasn't able to get a result. And 2 very different games, 2 very different types of defeat. The Newcastle defeat was just a dreadful performance. The Aston Villa defeat was, you could say, unfortunate in some ways. A couple of decisions again went against us, but it can't be a coincidence, can it, that the 2 big away games, the only 2 big away games that we faced, are our only 2 defeats. And obviously Saturday's an opportunity to put that right, but it's an even tougher place to go than Newcastle or Villa. Let's be honest, Anfield is Anfield. You know, they haven't lost at home since February. They've not lost at home in the Premier League even longer than that since, I can't remember the last time they lost in the Premier League at home. It's been a long, long time. And I know the Real Madrid game in the Champions League last season was their last defeat at Anfield in all competitions. That's 20 games ago. I think they've won 17 of them and only drawn 3. Although one of those draws, of course, was against us in the Premier League. Now, the other thing as well about our away form, which I think is quite significant, is the highest placed team in the league away from home this season that we've won away at is actually Brentford, and they're 12th. To be fair, we haven't played many of the teams above them. Chelsea, of course, we got a draw. And I say Villa and Newcastle, we've both lost. So that's not a good sign, is it, when you look at the sort of big away games? And in fact, this season in the Premier League, we've won 12 games, as we know, we're top of the league. But 9 of those 12 wins have been against the bottom 9 clubs in the league. There's only been three teams above 12th place that we've beaten. Obviously, Manchester City being the biggest one, and of course the other 2 being Manchester United at home, who we won 3-1 against. And who's the other one, actually? I've got it written down somewhere. Obviously, it was Man United, wasn't it? Who's the other team at the top? Man City. And Brighton, of course, last week. We won, didn't we, 2-0 against them as well. So they're the only teams in the top half of the table that we've beaten. Everybody else that we've played in the top half, we've dropped points to. And I say that's when our 2 defeats have been away from home. So I do feel, yes, we're nearly halfway through the season. We've played everybody, nearly. It's only Liverpool and West Ham we've yet to play. And obviously after Boxing Day, or the 28th, we play West Ham, we would have played everybody once. And you could say, yeah, okay, fair enough. We've played everybody. But when you look at the way the fixtures have worked out, so I don't know, it's for me, I'm not totally convinced. You know, when it comes to playing a lot of the top teams away from home, which we've still got to do, we've got to go to Old Trafford, we've got to go to Anfield, as we've said, we've got to go to Tottenham still. We've got to go to Manchester City. So these are games, aren't they? These are 4 games that for me are going to really be important this season. And I think if we don't pick up a result in this game on Saturday, and if we don't certainly put a performance in on Saturday, then it worries me going into these other big games into 2024. How are we going to sit with those games as well? And it is a worry. And people have said to me, "Oh, can't you enjoy being top of the league?" Well, yes, but being top of the league in December, as we've seen how many times over the last 20 years that we've been top of the table in December, it doesn't really mean a lot. It's nice, I suppose. It's better than being not top of the league. It's better than being 8th in the league or 12th in the league or bottom of the league, of course. But in the overall scheme of things, it's not that important, is it? What's important is where you are in April and May when the crunch happens. I want to be top then. And if it means that we're 4th now, but we're top in April, I would rather that than be top now and 3rd or 4th in April. Do you know what I mean? So I just look at it like that. It's okay being top. It doesn't mean anything. I don't think now, yes, obviously all the points that you get now are going to be important at the end of the season because they're added onto your total, aren't they? But I've always believed, and I think history shows that as well, the first half of the season, there's less pressure on you to get results. Because it's not as you can try, as Man City have shown regularly, and back in the day, Liverpool, which we're going to talk about in a minute, as well, they quite often started the season slowly. And then in the second half of the season, when things really matter, when every single point matters, that's when the big teams, the champions, go on them runs and they just win game after game after game when it really matters. In the first half of the season, when there's not so much pressure, it's not so important, that's when they tend to drop points. Historically, that's not just Man City now. That's been historically Manchester United in the past as well and stuff like that. So it's not really how you... I mean, it is... The Premier League or any league title is a marathon, not a sprint. It's how you finish, not how you start. And I don't look too much into being top now at all. It doesn't mean anything. It's nice to look at the table and you can sing the songs, we're top league and all that kind of stuff. Brilliant. But ultimately, it's not that important, is it? What's important is at the end of the season. Now, this game on Saturday to me is not just important for now. Obviously, if we avoid defeat, we go into Christmas above Liverpool. Obviously, we could still be below Villa. They play on Friday. They might win their game. You'd imagine they probably will against Sheffield United. So if we don't win the game, but we draw, at least you could think, well, we've still got that little advantage over Liverpool, and that's great. But it's more about the performance to me. If we can go to Anfield for the first time in a long, long time and actually really dictate our game on them, which we did for 25 minutes, half an hour last year. Obviously, you've got to do it for longer than half an hour if you're going to win a game at Anfield. But if we can go there on Saturday and put in a real performance and show the watching world, actually, this team, this club, is now ready to make that next step, which is going from last season when we led for so long to dropping away at the end to actually maintaining that through the season. This will give us, yes, it's only one game, win, lose or draw. It's not going to define where we finish because it's just one game. As big a game as it is, an important a game as it is, it's not going to be a season-defining game. We can lose on Saturday and still win the league. Equally, we can win on Saturday and still not win the league. So it's not, we've played some really big games against Liverpool, one in particular, which I'm sure you all know, isn't necessarily going to be, this one isn't going to be decisive, is it, in where we finish in the season, where Liverpool finish either. It's not. But it's an important game for lots of different reasons. And I say the biggest one being it's a chance for Arsenal, this Arsenal team, to make a statement and say we can go away from home to a place like Anfield where we haven't won for years and years and years, and we can go there and win. And I think that would be so important psychologically, not just from our perspective as Arsenal fans, but for the team as well, but also for the rest of the Premier League. Because I think you've got Manchester City will look at this game, Liverpool and, Aston Villa are in the title race. They will look at that and they will expect Arsenal to drop points at Anfield on Saturday because that's historically what we've done. We've dropped points at Anfield. We haven't won for 12 years, nearly 12 years, I said. So everyone's going to, all the other challenges are going to expect us to drop points. So we've got an opportunity to go there and put a statement out and say, this year is going to be different. Because so far it hasn't been, has it? So far, if you look at all the games that we've won this season, we've had, say, 12 victories in the Premier League. 11 of them I expected us to win. The only game we've won that I didn't expect us necessarily to win was the City game at home. I thought that could have been a game where maybe we might draw or potentially lose. And that was the only shock result, if you like, that we've had, for me, that we've had, all the other games that we've won, I kind of expected us to win. We haven't shocked anybody by winning those games. And the two games that, you know, you was hoping that we can turn up and put a performance in and get not an unexpected result, but a result that maybe a lot of people wasn't expecting us to get at Newcastle and at Villa. That's where we failed. So nothing surprised me this season, really. Where we are, the number of points that we've got with the fixtures that we've had, you know, you could say that the win against Manchester City, as great as it was, you know, we drew at home to Fulham when they had 10 men. We were 2-1 up. We should have won that game. So that's 2 points dropped there. Maybe a draw to a win against Man City. That sort of interacts that 2 points. So we're basically where I would have assumed that we would have been in terms of number of points that we've got. You don't know how many points other teams are going to get. So you don't know where that's going to put you in the league. But looking through it, I would say, you know, we've got 39 points now. I would have expected us, looking at the fixtures that we had, the time that we played the game, everything else, this is where I expected us. This is the number of points I would have expected us to have had. We haven't shocked. I haven't been shocked by any result apart from Man City, and even that wasn't a total shock at the time when you think they didn't have Rodri and this, that, and the other, and we was at home and all kinds of stuff like that. Yes, I didn't think we'd win the game. I thought it'd be a draw, but we got a win there, so that's great. But other than that, all the other games pretty much have gone as I expected. You know, obviously I expect us to beat Fulham at home, not draw. Tottenham at home, we led twice. We should have won that. But Tottenham aren't a terrible team, whatever we think of them. They're in the top 5. So, you know, they're doing okay, aren't they? So that's not a total disaster drawing at home to Tottenham, is it? You know, Chelsea away, we drew that game at the time when Chelsea were definitely beatable. We didn't play very well, dropped a couple of points there, but we were 2-0 down, could have lost. So, you know, I think we're all happy with that, aren't we, overall? So I'm not really surprised at where we are. I'm not shocked. This is where I expected us to be, and it's where we are. Now is when it starts to get interesting and more difficult. That second half of the seasons, not so much January and February, but certainly when you get to March, that's when the games are so important, aren't they? So let's get this one out of the way first, and let's see where we are, because you know it is going to be very, very interesting. Dan says Kavanagh isn't afraid to give out cards. I've just seen a replay of the Man United game against Fulham. He sent off 2 players and the manager. Well, none of them are they? Let's be honest. You know, cards, referees give them out in the Premier League like it's Christmas, and it is Christmas, so they'll probably give out more. But no, I mean, I'm not going to focus on the referee. We can't do anything about that. We've just got to go out and play the game. Dan says, I had a good feeling about this morning, this evening, not so much. Yeah, I mean, I don't like to get too going into these type of games. I never like to get too excited because I know I've been let down too many times. You know what I mean? It's incredible. Terry says, I'd just like to say, Richard, congratulations on the last month. Running going well. You've joined the 100 club likes in the show. Yeah, we did actually. Yeah, and top of all off, you made the fans reaction vlog. Yeah, I did. I made that as well. Yeah, I mean, it's to be honest with you, the last month on this channel, or the last couple of months, but the last month in particular has been the most successful month ever on the channel. You know, in terms of number of views, number of new subscribers, everything else. It's brilliant, and you know, you guys are so important to that. You know, tuning into all the shows, the comments that you make, all that kind of stuff. It's brilliant, and it's what makes the channel what it is, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? Terry says, I see Klopp today calling for Liverpool fans to turn up the heat for the game. Yeah, of course he is, you know, and understandably so. You know, they're going to want to use their home advantage, if you like, to the best that they can. Now, I don't have a problem with that. I've seen a lot of nonsense on social media today about, oh, you know, Klopp's worried, he wants to. But what happens at the Emirates? You know, you see Martin Odegaard getting the crowd up. You see Zinchenko getting the crowd up. It's the same as you want your crowd. You need your crowd when you're at home, whoever you play. This was against Brighton last weekend. You know, you had Martin Odegaard giving it to the crowd and I say Zinchenko as well, Declan Rice. So it's important, isn't it? The players need that energy from the crowd as well. And I think, you know, at Anfield, it's been noted for this famous atmosphere and stuff like that. I've been to Anfield hundreds of times, and I've never necessarily felt that intimidating atmosphere that they say it creates. Maybe it's just the games I've been to. I don't know. I've been there enough times, I feel, to have experienced it. But I think mainly because in the away end, it's always like really loud and that anyway. So you maybe don't get to feel that atmosphere from the Liverpool crowd so much when you're in the away end at Anfield. But no, I mean, that's understandable from Klopp. Of course, he wants that home advantage, doesn't he? Of course he does. You know, they've done pretty well at Anfield for the last year or so. So, you know, it's obviously worked. And it's going to be an incredible atmosphere on Saturday, isn't it? You know, the top two teams in the league going meeting up. It's not often. I'm assuming actually, without sort of looking forward at all the previous league tables when we played Liverpool, there can't be too many times when we've gone to Anfield as it being the top two teams in the league, like in '89. Obviously, this game's not quite as important as that in terms of the final outcome. It's a big game, though. Let's not make no bones about that. Dan says because they were quiet against Man U, it's why Roy Keane was ranting. But yeah, and apparently last night as well in the Carabao Cup, there is a Carabao Cup though. It's a different type of crowd, isn't it, in the Carabao Cup to the Premier League? But yeah, I mean, I think sometimes it's the game though, isn't it, as well? I mean, the Man United game, I only caught the highlights of it. I didn't watch it live, but it did look as though the game wasn't that great. Man United obviously created that, and why wouldn't they? And this has got me thinking about it. I'll talk about it in a minute, actually, about Arsenal's approach to the game, how I feel we should approach the game. Dan says Ian Wright said he wanted Arsenal to win at the league. Can you imagine the last day of match of the day and Arsenal champions? I really hope we do it for him. He's a legend. Yeah, he is. Of course he is. I mean, and to me, Arsenal winning the league is more important than how it's going to make Ian Wright feel on match of the day. It's more about how it's going to make all of us feel, isn't it? We haven't won a league for 20 years. There's a whole generation of Arsenal fans that have never seen Arsenal win the Premier League ever because they're too young. So, it would just be an amazing moment, wouldn't it? Whenever we eventually win the league again, and we will, we're Arsenal, we will win the league again. We're not Tottenham. We're not going to go 60, 70 years without winning the league title. We are going to win the league again at some point, whether it's in the next year, 2 years, 5 years, or 10 years. We are going to win the league again. And when we do, it's going to be an amazing moment, isn't it? It's not just, for some of the ex-players. I mean, of course, Ian Wright will go mad, won't he? He'll go nuts. He should do what, when Gary Lineker had to do the show in his underpants, didn't he, when Leicester won the league? Ian Wright should do something like that, shouldn't he, if Arsenal do win the league? That would be quite funny. But yeah, I mean, it is going to be an incredible moment, isn't it? It's something that, us older fans, like yourself, Dan, me, Terry, people that seen it all before, we've seen us win league titles. We've seen us win pretty much everything. It's still been 20 years since we've seen a league title, and it's a long, long time. And it will be an incredible moment, but I don't want to look too far ahead now. It's silly. Last year, we were top of the league at this point, and look what happened at the end. Finishing second is no good, is it? For me, I'm sorry, it's not. We've waited a long time to win the league again, and that has got to be the next step. Having finished second last year, the next step's got to be to win it. And I say, if it's this year or if it isn't this year, I don't know, but it's got to be soon, hasn't it? It's got to be, and let's wait and see. But yeah, of course, it would be great for Wrighty on his last match of the day because he's leaving, as he's already said. But for me, it's more about what it's going to bring every single person that's got any affiliation to Arsenal, whether it's the fans, whether it's obviously the players, the management, the coaching staff, the people that work in the turnstiles, the stewards, everybody connected to us all over the world. It's just going to be an amazing, amazing moment, isn't it, to see Arsenal get that trophy? Because I say it's been such a long time, and for some people, they've never ever seen it, and it would be incredible, wouldn't it? Terry says we need a win to keep the pressure on Liverpool, but even more important, Man City. No, absolutely, yeah. I mean, at the minute, Man City are going for a difficult patch in terms of results, aren't they? Well, having said that, they've only lost once in the last 7, 8 games, whatever it is, but they're not winning too many. They've had a lot of draws, and we need to take advantage of that while we can. We saw last year that even having 5, 8 point lead on Man City isn't always going to be enough. So we just need to make the most of it, don't we? Win as many points as we can while they're struggling. And hopefully, whatever happens later in the season, we'll have enough of a lead to be able to hold them off. We'll be able to do enough to stop them when they go on that run, which they're going to go on. So, yeah, every single win now, let's get as many points as we can. It's just unfortunate in a way that we've got a game like this to come. But we have to play Liverpool away at some point in the season. It's just you've got to go there and get the result. You've got to go there and do the job. So that's what we need to do. Gunnar Dan says, yeah, I was wondering who we're going to be playing at left back. Well, yeah, I mean, left back's an interesting one, isn't it? Because Zinchenko brings something to the team in an attacking sense. When we've got the ball, he drops into midfield, creates that extra man there. And he's fairly neat and tidy with the ball, isn't he? He can find a pass. He can, he's intelligent footballer. Problem is, defensively as a left back, he is the weakness in this team. There's no doubt about that. He makes far too many mistakes defensively, gives the ball away, misses tackles, and other teams target that. Now, you've got to bear in mind, on their right-hand side, quite often is where you'll find Mo Salah, because that's where Mo Salah likes to play, doesn't he? Cutting in onto his left foot. And we can't risk, I don't think we can risk Zinchenko in that position unless he's going to be very disciplined as a left back when we don't have the ball in particular. But even when we do, we can't allow space, because as soon as we lose the ball, they're going to be looking for Salah in that channel, aren't they? And that to me is going to be a big part of this game. That to me could even be the crucial part of this game. You know, if Zinchenko plays there, I think that's a risk. In a game like this, it's a risk. At home to Brighton, you can play Zinchenko there because his defensive frailties aren't really going to really be too much exploited. Really are they at home to Brighton. But when you're playing away at Liverpool, particularly with Mo Salah in that position, it's to me, it's far too much of a risk. I would be tempted to play a more defensive left-sided defender. And again, we don't have a lot of options, do we, with Juan Timber still out? But I would go for Kiwior in this game, just as a defender, because, you know, I feel as a one-on-one defender, he's probably going to be able to do a better job than Zinchenko will on Salah. Obviously, he's going to have to be, you know, Martinelli's going to have to come back and double up, I'm sure, as well. But yeah, it would worry me having a Zinchenko isolated with Mo Salah too often, because he's not the quickest player as Zinchenko either, is he? His positional play defensively leaves a lot to be desired. And I just think Salah and Liverpool will look to exploit that space there on that side of the pitch, which is their strength anyway, isn't it? You know, Mo Salah in that position on that right-hand side, cutting in on his left foot, that's what he does. And that's how he scores so many goals, doing that very same thing. And that's against proper, better left-backs than Zinchenko is as a left-back. So that is a concern for me, the left-back situation. Unfortunately, we don't have a better option. Remember, was it the Anfield game last year, wasn't it? Was Zinchenko, it was the second goal, wasn't it, when he was far too easily beaten? And that would worry me going into this game, definitely. But without Kieran Tierney at the club anymore, he's out on loan. We don't have a natural left back. Kiwior's a left-sided defender, left-footed defender, and I'm sure he can do a decent enough job there. But he lacks that experience at the very top level, doesn't he, against these type of opposition? So that would worry me as well. Either way, you're looking at Zinchenko's got a bit more experience, but defensively, he's not the best. Kiwior's better defensively, but doesn't have the experience of this type of situation. It's a tough one, isn't it? Mikel Arteta's going to have to make that call. And it could be an important call as well, because I do feel as though that is going to be a key area of the pitch, isn't it? You know, certainly when we're defending, hopefully we'll be attacking enough and it eases the pressure on there. But there's going to be moments in the game where Liverpool will be on top, probably lots of the game, and they're going to create opportunities and they're going to put us under pressure. And that does worry me. It does really, really worry me. Terry says, my only worry is we always bottle it when it comes to the top teams, especially away. Exactly as I was saying before. Our record is terrible. I've just gone through it all at the beginning. You know, the poor record that we've got away from home against the big teams, the top teams. And it doesn't even sometimes seem to matter how well they're doing. I mean, let's face it, Liverpool haven't always been as good as they are now, haven't always been challenging for the title, but yet we've still got away to Anfield and struggled, even when we were technically a better team than them, even when we were higher in the league than them, even when we were doing better than them. We still went to Anfield and dropped points, generally lost, but sometimes drew. You know, we still managed to win there, have we? So the fact that now Liverpool are a good side, a much better side than they've been in some of those previous years, it makes it even tougher, doesn't it? But yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, we need to find a way to. It's difficult to say what the reason is. When other teams go to these grounds and get results, don't they? You know, I say plenty of teams have gone away to Man City and got results. Crystal Palace, I say, did last week, didn't they? For example, Brentford won their last season and stuff. So, you know, why don't we ever go there and win any of these games ever? It seems very rare that we do. You know, especially Anfield and the Etihad. They're the two that we never win. Old Trafford, very, very, very rarely. Tottenham, very rarely as well. So it's something that we've got to address that, and if we can do that, then it's going to make a massive difference, isn't it? One, in terms of the final position in the league, of course it will, but also as well just the belief that everybody gets from seeing us go to a place like Anfield and get a win. The lift that it gives everyone would be incredible, wouldn't it? I think last season, had we won that game at Anfield when we were 2-0 up, I think we would have gone on and won the league, because I think the belief that we would have got, and I think that would have convinced everybody, including Man City, that we were the real deal and we would be able to go on and finish the job. And I think we would have probably won the league if we'd won that game. But we know what happened. We didn't. And after that, it all fell apart very quickly, didn't it? That was the game that, in the end, made the difference between us winning the league and coming second. It was that game at Anfield, definitely. Looking back on it now, at the time it felt big, throwing away that 2-0 lead. But then obviously afterwards, when we did the same against West Ham the following week, and then, you know, drawing that game with Southampton at home, and, you know, it all fell apart very quickly after the game at Anfield, didn't it? Whereas I think if we'd won that game at Liverpool, we'd have probably beat West Ham, and I think we'd have won the league. So that's how big that game was last season, and that the way that we threw that away, that does worry me, because it's not the first time we've done something similar in these type of games. Terry says, I'm gutted that I didn't make the most of it under Wenger. I just expected it to carry on forever. More for me. Yeah, I mean, I kind of I agree. I mean, I've said this on the channel before, you know, for example, the Invincible team, you know, that period, not just that one season, that whole period, you know, 2002 winning a double and all that kind of stuff, that whole period of time with that great team, I took it for granted as well. I did a little bit, because that team was so good. I can remember, obviously, when we won the league in 2004, you know, the Leicester game at the end of the season, I remember thinking to myself, this team's going to dominate. This team's going to dominate this league for the next 5-10 years. You know, I really at that time, that's what I believed. Yes, some of the players were getting a little bit older, maybe like Bergkamp or what have you, but I believed that team had a lot left in it. And I thought Wenger would, just as he had done before, he would replace what needed replacing, and we would carry on. Obviously, we didn't know that Chelsea were going to get all that money, did we, at that point? That was a season after. But I honestly believed it at the time, that team was we would get many more moments like that to come. You know, we'd had a load in the previous 20 years. Going back to the George Graham days, you know, we'd had so much success, you know, league titles, FA Cups, and even a European trophy and stuff. We'd had all them great moments, and yeah, I thought it would carry on. Of course, I expected it to carry on. I certainly didn't. That day after that Leicester game, I certainly wasn't expecting to be 20 years later waiting for another league title. No, absolutely not. I expected us to be winning them regularly at that point. Obviously, we know what happened. It didn't work out like that, did it? But I'm the same. It's difficult to say, isn't it? And I think that the only league title success I think I've ever really not taken for granted was the first one I ever saw, which, funny enough, was the one at Anfield in '89, because that was so unexpected. I've never seen us win the league before. And, you know, talking about Arsenal versus Liverpool, I mean, when I was growing up watching football, I first started watching football in the sort of late 1970s into the 1980s, and every single year Liverpool were winning stuff. They were winning the league title pretty much every season. When they wasn't winning that, and even sometimes when they did win that, they'd be winning a European Cup. And I used to look at the sort of the end of the season. You know, you'd see Liverpool getting these trophies at Anfield and stuff, and you'd see the crowd and everything else. And I used to think to myself, I couldn't imagine what that would be like to see your team win those sort of trophies, win the league title. I never ever thought I'd ever see Arsenal win the league title. It's something that you thought it's never going to happen. That happens to Liverpool. It's not going to happen to Arsenal. I mean, yes, Aston Villa won it one year, and everyone was like, that was like the Leicester City of its time, wasn't it? When Aston Villa won the league that year, Liverpool had a poor season and they took advantage and nicked the title. But I never thought it would be Arsenal. I've never ever thought in my life I'd ever see Arsenal win the league. And then, of course, suddenly it happened in such incredible circumstances at Anfield as well, of all places. You know, of all the teams to beat to win the league for the first time that I'd ever experienced, it to be Liverpool when I've grown up for years. You know, and I would say it was a jealousy thing. Definitely, I'd look at their fans and I'd be jealous, thinking I want to experience that, but I never felt that I would. And then suddenly it came around. And of course, since then, everything changes. You know, you see your team win a league title, and then the expectation of it happening again becomes a lot greater, doesn't it? You know, if you've never ever seen your team win it, this must be what it's like for a Tottenham fan. I don't think Tottenham fans haven't got any expectations to win the league because they've never ever experienced it. So it's totally different for them, isn't it? But as soon as I saw us win the league in '89, then suddenly it's like the expectation of that happening again. You suddenly think, well, it's happened once, it can happen again. And it changes your whole perspective on it. It did for me. And of course, 2 years later, we did win it again. And then you're thinking, oh, okay, well, this is good. It took a while to win it again under Wenger, of course, the Premier League, when we won our first Premier League in '98. But it does change your outlook on it, because once you've experienced something, you know it's possible. If you never think something's possible, you don't think about it too much. You wish you could do it, and you think to yourself, yeah, it'd be great if Arsenal could win the league. You know, it's like now, isn't it, with the Champions League? You know, yes, we reached the final, we got so close, and that hurts still, but we've never won the Champions League. So my expectation of being in the Champions League isn't, well, I think we can win it. My expectation is, well, let's just see how far we can go. And that's about it, because we've never, as soon as we win the Champions League, if we ever win it, and I'm sure we will at some point, once we've won the Champions League, then suddenly you've got the expectation of it's possible. And then every time you're in it, it's possible to win it because you've done it before. And it does change how you see these different things. I mean, I think with the FA Cup and the League Cup, it's slightly different. I think they're slightly easier to win. I mean, obviously the FA Cup for Arsenal, the League Cup hasn't been that easy to win for Arsenal. We've only won it twice, but it's a trophy that you would, I mean, Arsenal should be winning League Cups at some stage. We should be winning FA Cups at some point, and we do, and we have. But yeah, it does change once you see your team, once you experience your team winning these trophies. Your expectations of it do change, and you do want it more and more. And now it's been such a long time. There's going to be a whole new generation of fans when we do win it, if it's this season or if it's not, when it comes around. They all feel the same probably as what we did back in '89, and it does change how you look at it then. And then next season, the season after that, you're thinking we need to do it again. It's not one of those things. It's not like having a nice meal. Well, in fact, it is. It probably is like having a nice meal, because once you've had the nice meal, you really enjoyed it, and for about half an hour or maybe a day or 2 days, you're okay, and then you start thinking, well, that was really nice. I want to experience that again. And it's the same with winning the league. Once you've experienced it, you want to experience it again. And I do think that it changes, and maybe it makes. We'll never. Our generation, that me, you, Terry, Dan, all that, people of our generation, we'll never experience another Anfield, whatever happens, because that was our first time seeing Arsenal win the league, and it was so unexpected. We'll never experience that. If Arsenal win the league now, after 20 years, it'll be amazing. But it won't be the same. It won't produce those same feelings. It will for all those younger guys that have never seen it before. That'll be their '89, won't it? When we win the league, the game that we seal the league, if it's this season or whenever it is. But we won't experience that again. We'll enjoy it. Of course we will. It'll be fantastic, but it won't be the same. It definitely won't be the same. So we'll see what happens. Terry says Zinchenko also brings a goal for Liverpool's attack. Well, potentially he's going to bring chances to Liverpool's attack. Whether or not it's goals or not, a lot depends on how they take them chances, but it will lead to chances. Terry says Nelly's our best left back was Zinchenko. Well, he has to be, because he's got to run back and cover. But I think whoever plays left back tomorrow, whether it's Zinchenko, whether it's Kiwi or whatever it is, it can't be Tommy Asu, of course. Unfortunately, he would have probably come and done a good job actually in this game. It'd have been ideal for him, wouldn't it? But he's not an option. So whoever plays left back, Nelly's going to have to come back and help. He's going to have to, because you can't leave Salah isolated with either of our two potential left backs tomorrow. On Saturday, sorry. Terry says, spot on, Richard. I agree 100%. Never thought I'd see us win the league. No, exactly. But once you do, it changes, doesn't it? Your expectations change then. And suddenly I'm not saying you expect to see you win it every year, but you expect to win it again once you've seen it happen once. Especially for a club like Arsenal. Maybe Leicester fans probably just thought Leicester just a once in a lifetime experience for them, like Aston Villa when they won the league back in 1981. Or was it 1980? 1981, it was 81, wasn't it? Yeah. When those things happen, Aston Villa probably thought it's just a one-off. It's never going to happen to them again. And the same as Leicester. But with Arsenal, because of the size of our club and our history and what we've won, you do kind of expect it to happen again, don't you? And I think if we win the league this year, or if it's next year or whenever it is, I think that's going to change the expectations everybody has going forward. And I think that maybe that's more pressure. It'll add to more pressure, because I think, if we win, say we win the league this season, right? Let's say we do. If we haven't won the league, if we don't win the league again for the next 3 or 4 seasons, then how much more pressure is that then? Because it's like, well, we should be winning it again because we've won it quite recently. And I do think that does make a difference, actually. Gunnar Dan, so I was so drunk at that 89 Liverpool Arsenal decider. I always watch Fever Pitch movie with good memories of that time. Yeah, I mean, I think we all do, don't we? Fever Pitch is a movie that I get out on a, I wouldn't say regular basis, but I do watch it from time to time. And the 89 documentary as well, actually, even more so. I've watched that more, actually, in the last couple of years since it came out than I've watched Fever Pitch, to be honest. And of course, it brings back all those memories, and it brings back, you know, even now, and every single time this is in the last, 34 years, whatever it is, every time you watch that goal back, the Mickey Thomas goal, I always think he's going to miss or he's going to get tackled. Even now, you know, he scores because we saw it. We were there at the time, but watching it back, I always think he's going to miss. He can't possibly score, can he? The last seconds of the game, we need another goal. It's the last seconds of the game. He can't possibly score. So you always think he's going to miss, but he never does, of course. He always sticks it in. And it's such a good feeling, isn't it? I don't think any Arsenal fan certainly would ever experience anything like that again. And whenever it comes to Anfield and Liverpool away, we'll always go back to that, won't we? As Arsenal fans of our sort of era, of our age, we'll always go back to that because nothing will ever top that. Not just as Arsenal fans, I think as a moment in football, a moment in English football history, there will never, ever be another moment like that. And there never has been and there never will be. And I actually believe, and I know it almost is a shame in a way, but I believe that modern football, as we know it today in terms of the TV, 24-hour wall-to-wall TV, 150,000 live matches, all this kind of stuff, and the formation of the Premier League and everything else came about because of that night at Anfield. Without that happening, without that drama, without that game on its own almost turned football into a TV drama, didn't it? Because they made a movie from it. That kind of just sums it up, doesn't it? And I believe that all the bad things now that we've got in football, when it comes to the Premier League, when it comes to too much TV coverage, it all started from 1989 and Arsenal winning the league at Anfield in the final minute, because that created TV executives in their head went off and thinking, oh, look what football can bring. And if you remember, 1989 was obviously, it was a year of Hillsborough. It was, the football stadiums were in a total mess. We were getting through that decade of hooliganism and, obviously fans being caged in grounds, which of course was a big factor in what happened at Hillsborough. And it wasn't a fun. I mean, I enjoyed going to football in the 80s personally. I loved it, but it wasn't a fun experience in some ways. It was quite dangerous. You didn't always know for certain that you were going to get back home in one piece when you went to games. It wasn't trendy, if you like, and football fans were treated very differently. I mean, I can remember when I first started going to work in the sort of mid 1980s, and you'd almost have to be sort of quiet about the fact that you went to football, because if you was a young lad going to football, then you got painted in a certain way, and people assumed that, oh, you must be a hooligan then, and this, that, and the other, and you almost had to keep it quiet. I can remember loads of jobs when people that I worked with wouldn't have known I was going to football, because I wouldn't have promoted the fact that I was going to football, because you didn't do it then because of the stigma that was attached almost to being a football fan. So, something you kept quiet. You'd go to the games and then you wouldn't talk about it at work, or you wouldn't talk about being at the game. You might talk about football, you might talk about the games, but you certainly wouldn't say that you were going to games, because it wasn't worth the aggravation that you'd get. And it then left people with a certain opinion of you, which wasn't good. Whereas now it's almost the other way around, isn't it? Now you go to work and everybody talks about going to football, and it's like an acceptable thing to do on your spare time, isn't it? It's an acceptable hobby to have now, to go to football. But it never used to be. It used to be something that you would keep quiet, and you certainly wouldn't be publicising that you've been to matches, because it just wasn't worth the aggravation that you would get and the way you'd get treated, because football fans were treated badly, weren't they? You know, the way that we were treated like animals, you know, being herded around places off the trains with the police and that, as though we were a load of criminals. And all we were doing, we were going to watch our team play. Do you know what I mean? It seems incredible now when you think about it. I mean, it did kind of add to the excitement. When obviously I was young, you know, I was sort of, you know, a teenager at that time in the 80s and stuff, and it was exciting, but it had a stigma attached to it. There's absolutely no doubt. And to say it's not something that you'd want to tell people. You know, if you were out somewhere, even, you know, on holiday, even, you know, you wouldn't really want to announce the fact that you was a big football fan. Yeah, I'd wear an Arsenal shirt and stuff like that, but you don't want people to know you was going to games, because you just didn't do that then. So I do think 89 was the catalyst for the change in football. And it did suddenly become more trendy. You know, after that game in 89, I can remember, and I'm sure you guys can as well, that suddenly people would be talking about it. People talked about that game for ages afterwards, didn't they? People were talking about it all the time. It became a big topic. Even people that wasn't interested in football, not even interested in football. I can remember the next few weeks after that, you know, going into work at that point, and suddenly people were talking about it. You know, even before the game, in the build-up to the game, people, but that hadn't happened before, really. People wasn't that interested, and say it wasn't something that people really spoke about in the same way. And after that game, literally, people that had no interest in football whatsoever were coming up to me and saying, "Oh, what a fantastic night that must have been," or this, that, and the other. You know what I mean? And it changed the whole way people saw football, and that was the start of the change. It didn't happen overnight, but you could see the change happening. And I say from there, you know, 3 years later, the Premier League started and Sky got involved and all that kind of stuff. And ever since then, they've tried to recreate another moment. They had their Aguero moment, which, let's face it, is just not even on the same planet as the Michael Thomas moment. But, you know, and that was the start of it all for me. And so an Arsenal game against Liverpool, especially an Arsenal game against Liverpool at Anfield, is something different. It's not a normal game. It's the game for me that started modern football. And as much as I hate modern football, as much as I hate what it's become, unfortunately, it was Arsenal and it was Michael Thomas and it was us that created that monster, if you like. You know, I think if we'd won that game 1-0 and lost the league to Liverpool, if Liverpool had won 2-0 and had won the league, I think football now would actually be very different to what it is if that game hadn't happened in the way that it did. You know, but in fact, in a way, you've got to maybe go back to actually Hillsborough itself, because the game originally was supposed to be the week after Hillsborough, wasn't it? That was the original date was the week after the Hillsborough disaster, and of course, football got shut down, so the game got postponed to the end of the season. So that kind of created that situation, didn't it? Meaning that the game was at the end of the season, the last game of the season. It just so happened the way that it planned out. But yeah, all of that. So yeah, Terry says the only time everyone went football mad was FA Cup final. But yeah, it was. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, but then you see that was the people that wasn't going to the game. It was like a family thing. You'd sit at home and watch the telly, wouldn't you? And you'd enjoy it at home, and everybody could do that, because that felt like, you know, that's almost like I don't know, like the X Factor or something like that. Everyone would crowd around, all the family would crowd around the telly and watch it, wouldn't they? And that wasn't to do with going to the games and being a hooligan or being looked at in a bad way. Everybody watched the FA Cup final. So yeah, but that was the only time. And maybe if there was a big England game, not that I mean, in the 70s and 80s, we didn't really get to too many tournaments, did we? We didn't get a World Cup the whole of the 1970s. So, but yeah, you're right. It was the only time, wasn't it? That happened. And Gunnar Dan says, I've been called a football hooligan a few times. Yeah, exactly. All of us have been. So if you went to football in the 80s and someone know you went to football in the 80s, that's what they would think of you. You know, they'd think that you were a brain dead moron who went around kicking lumps out of people on a Saturday. And some of us did. But anyway, Terry says that was all part of the buzz, going away games, preferred away games and going home. Yeah, of course. Yeah, well, I always looked at it like this, right? I always looked at it that going to a home game was like going to work, and going to an away game was like going on holiday. that was the difference in excitement. You know, you went to the home games because you have to go, because I mean, I had a season ticket for years at Highbury, so you'd go to the home games, but it's more out of a duty a lot of the time. Yeah, some of the games were great and I enjoyed it. Of course you did. You know, you'd meet your mates and all that kind of stuff. But it felt more like a duty to go to the home games. But the away games felt like going on holiday, didn't it? It was like a big deal. It really was. And yeah, that to me, that's always how I looked at the two, really. You're either going to work at a home game or you're going on holiday. Everyone prefers going on holiday, don't they, to go to work, let's be honest. Absolutely right. So yeah, Dad says they might have been right. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think anyone that went to football in the 70s, if you went to 80s, sorry, if you went to away games on a regular basis, whether by luck or design, you or bad luck, you tended to end up in some sort of trouble, didn't you? It happened all the time. I can remember so many games where it was just there and you couldn't avoid it. Sometimes in the ground, often outside the ground. You know, it just happened, didn't it? All those things, and it's like, you know, you couldn't help but be there and be involved because it was happening all around you. And that was just the way it was. And I'm not saying everyone was a hooligan who went, because they wasn't. It was only a smallish minority, I suppose, that started all those things and got involved. But it would be going on all around you, and you had no option. You're involved because it's there. So yeah, absolutely. And it's, you know, football changed a lot, hasn't it? It's changed a lot, the whole experience of it. I'm not saying we should go back to those sort of days, because that's not what we want. It's not what anybody wants. But it's gone too far the other way for me. It's been sanitized down too much, and it's not the same experience. So that's why now I tend to, I don't go to as many games now as I used to. I don't really miss it, if I'm honest. I think lockdown was the thing when we couldn't go to games. I realised that I didn't actually miss going as much as I thought I would. You know, when they said no fans in the ground, I was like, oh my God, how am I going to cope not being able to go to games? But then once it started and it got going, I mean, I started the channel era and stuff like that then, and I don't know, I just didn't miss going to games. I didn't miss the experience of it because it wasn't the same as it was. And it made me realise that by not being able to go. And I think when you keep going and you keep going, you just kind of get in that routine, and you just, even though it's changed and you know it's changed, you know it's not the same, you still go. But not being able to go, I could come away from it, and it made me look at it completely differently. And now I look at it and think, well, you know what? I didn't miss it. I didn't miss it at the time. So when we could go back again, I wasn't in any rush to go back. I've not been to that many games since since fans were allowed back in. I probably can count on one hand the number of games I've been to. Well, no, I've probably been to double figures or whatever, but not many. And I'm certainly not that bothered anymore. I'm not going to go out. If I can get a ticket to a game, I'll go. Certain games I want to go to a bit more than others, but I'm not overly fussed anymore because the experience isn't the same. Doesn't give me that same enjoyment as it used to. And I realised that when I couldn't go, when lockdown was on, you know, but everyone's different, aren't they? And that's fine. Terry says TV on, sound off, radio. And yeah, that's what it used to be, didn't it? The radio commentary was brilliant. That's what I grew up on, the radio commentary. I'm still thick as poo. I don't know what you mean for that one. Dan says, and that's when it happens now. There is a shock factor, like what happened in Turkey. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you're right. Yeah, it is, because it's different now, isn't it? The whole environment is different. And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. It's just, for me, it's not as enjoyable. The whole experience of going to football now isn't as enjoyable as it was. And that's why I don't go to as many games anymore. People say, oh, well, you know, you don't go to games. How can you comment on the football? Well, I've been to enough games in my life to start off. And two, when you feel differently about it, you know, no one should feel bad about not doing something and not enjoying. I just feel that's the way it is. You know, I've been to a few games, and actually the only games I've really enjoyed have been the women's games. I haven't really enjoyed a man's game I've been to really for a long time. I can't remember coming out of a game and thinking, oh God, that was really good. I really enjoyed that. And that's even when Arsenal might have won. I've not been to too many games Arsenal have won, which probably hasn't helped. But the whole experience, and it's not just now, it's not just in the last couple of years since the lockdown. This has been building up for a long, long time. I can go back 10 years, 15 years. It was not the same. I used to go a lot more when my son was coming. I used to take him, he used to love it. So I used to go more then. And that was more of an incentive to go, to take him so he could experience those sort of things. And that was great. But from my perspective, I wasn't enjoying it anywhere near as much as I used to. You know, and that's unfortunately what's happened. But a game at Anfield against Liverpool is always going to stir those emotions, isn't it? And you know, this is one game that I would go to if I could get a ticket, I would have gone to the game. If I can get a ticket now, I'll go. Because these are the games that it does stir up those emotions because of what that game means. I say, seeing Liverpool win all those trophies, all those years, and thinking that's never going to happen for me. I'm never going to experience that. And now I have experienced it. Apart from the Champions League or European Cup as it was, I've seen us win everything else, and it's been great. I never thought I ever would. So yeah, it's funny how things change. Terry said, I remember one Sunday watching the Arsenal girls, and the ref was driving mad, absolutely terrible. Turned on YouTube and found you, and never looked back. Oh right, okay, fantastic. That's good. Yeah, brilliant. I mean, I know you've been with us on the channel for a while, Terry. Actually, haven't you? I remember when your dad used to come in the chat as well. Was that you, or was that someone else? I think I can't remember. But anyway, yeah, that was a long time ago. But yeah, I mean, the women's team is something that I've really enjoyed. That's the one football I enjoy. I still enjoy that as much probably as ever, probably more than ever now. And I think that's because of how much better the atmosphere is at the games now and that kind of stuff. And it really is good. And I do enjoy that maybe more so than the men's games now. But that's just my personal feeling about it. Doesn't mean Arsenal are going to leave me or I'm going to feel any less happy or upset when we win and we lose, whatever it is. Your feelings inside don't change. It's just how I don't need to go to games anymore to feel that. And I've got no real desire generally. Often there's a few. I'd like to go to Burnley away this season just because it's a nice trip. I like Burnley. I've got a few friends who are Burnley fans, but I'm not overly fussed anymore. If I can get to a game, I will. If I can't, I'm happy to do this on the channel and entertain you guys, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. So Liverpool then, obviously, it is a big game. It isn't a season-defining game. It isn't going to win us the league or lose us the league. It isn't going to win Liverpool the league. It isn't going to decide anything. All it's going to decide for me is, have we got the bottle to go to a big away game, traditional place that we never usually do well at, and get a win? That's all it's going to decide for me, and what the performance is like. Are we going to... Last season, we played really well for 20 minutes, 25 minutes, didn't we? And I thought, wow, this is not what I was expecting. And in the end, obviously, we could easily have lost that game, which would have been more what I would have expected before. And so yeah, I want to see us on Saturday go there and show that the history, the recent history of this fixture, certainly over the last 12 years, is something that we are ready to turn over now. And to be honest with you, there's no excuses, now. I don't think, this is a good Liverpool team. Last season, Liverpool wasn't quite on it for one reason or another. They had a poor season. They finished fifth. They just had one of those seasons that, when you've had 3 or 4 seasons challenging, winning Champions Leagues, winning Premier Leagues, you're going to have a little time when you have to regroup. And last season, that was Liverpool. And they're much stronger now, aren't they? Especially at Anfield. They've only lost one game in the league all season. That was that controversial game at Tottenham, of course. That's their only defeat. So it's going to be a big, massive test for us. And if we come out of this, if we was to win this game on Saturday, right, whatever happens, whether it's VAR nonsense, whatever it is, if we can win this game on Saturday, that will be the first time probably in the last 4 years under Mikel Arteta that I will actually believe this team has changed, and Mikel Arteta has changed the whole mentality of the team. If we can go, because this isn't a Liverpool from last season that wasn't as good. This is a Liverpool that are on top of their game, especially at home. I said they've lost one league game all season. They're through in the Champions League, as you expect them to be. They're in the semi-final of the Carabao Cup. This is a top Liverpool side, and this is going to be, without a doubt, by an absolute mile, our biggest test of the season so far. We were tested at Newcastle, came up short. We were tested at Villa Park, all those home wins in a row they had, we came up short. But this is a bigger test than both of those two games put together, I think. Liverpool had a real deal this season, and I think if we don't win the league, it will probably be them. Because maybe City, no one's ever won it 4 times in a row. There's a reason why no one's ever won it 4 times in a row. That's in history. That's not just Premier League. Even before that, 3 times is the most anyone's ever done. And I'm not sure if Man City have got that in them to be able to do it a 4th time. So I think the league title will probably, and I'm saying this now, will either be won by Arsenal or Liverpool. one of those two teams that we're going to see on Saturday at Anfield is going to probably win the league, I think. Liverpool are the real deal this year. And for me, that is what it's whether or not I think it's going to be us is how we perform on Saturday, the sort of result that we get. And if we win, I will think that, yes, maybe it is our year now. Maybe we are ready. I still don't think we're ready because of all the reasons that I've explained, our away form at these big games, all this, that, and the other. If we can go to Anfield on Saturday and get a win, then for me, that changes it. Because, even me, and I've been one of Arteta's biggest critics, if you like, and my distrust of this team's mentality and this manager's mentality, I've always been one of the biggest people that have felt like that. And, last season, if we'd won at Anfield, I think, as I said, I think we'd have won the league. But I'd looked at and thought, well, this Liverpool team aren't as good as previous Liverpool teams. I'd have almost had that as an excuse in my head. There's no excuses this time. If Arsenal win on Saturday at Liverpool, that is the greatest result Mikel Arteta will ever have had as Arsenal manager up till now, by an absolute mile. It'd be the best result he's ever had, easily. No other result that we've achieved under Mikel Arteta in 4 years would have come close to us going to Anfield on Saturday and winning, because this is a top Liverpool team in top form. It's not a Liverpool team that's, full of injuries, a Liverpool team that's struggling to get to their best like last season. This is a top Liverpool team. And if we go there and win, to me, that shows that mentality has changed. I've not seen it yet. In 4 years, I've not seen it. We might see it on Saturday. And if we do, brilliant. And I think that's going to change in my mind as well. I've always had this in the back of my mind that, we've won a lot of games. We've played some nice football at times, a little bit too possession-y, sideways-y, backwards-y. For me, personally, I like more direct football. That's just my preference. I like to get the ball forward quicker. I like to see the ball in the box and stuff like that. So I've always had these doubts in the back of my mind that when it comes to the crunch, this team haven't got the mentality. The players don't have the mentality. The manager doesn't have the mentality. And every time I've been proved, or those doubts have been right, every big challenge that we faced, we've come up short under this manager when it's come to finishing the top four. Europa League semi-final, League Cup semi-final, a second leg at the Emirates against Liverpool after that 0-0 draw when Xhaka got sent off. All these big opportunities that we've had to do something great. When it comes to and obviously the league title last year, we've just fallen short when it's really mattered. And I haven't seen anything different this season to suggest that that's changed. But Saturday's a chance, and there won't be. For me, there's no. It doesn't matter even if we get the 4 VAR dodgy decisions in our favour, win the game. To me, we're still beating. We've got to be good to beat a Liverpool team at Anfield. This Liverpool team at Anfield. Look at Fulham the other week. They had such a great chance, didn't they? And still Liverpool came back and beat them. I'm not saying Fulham are a great team, but what I'm saying is you have to win at Liverpool. You have to do something. It's exceptional to do that at this time with this Liverpool team. So I'm not gonna. I think I will start to change my opinion on all of it, because I'd have seen some evidence to back it up. I've not really seen too much evidence to back it up. All I've seen is a lot of wins against teams that we should be beating with the money we've spent, with the players that we've got. We should be winning a lot of those games that we've won. As I said, I've not been surprised by any win this season except for Man City. And even that before the game, we had to think with Rodri not being there, we had a big chance to beat them. And we took it. A little bit fortunate with a deflected goal at the end, but it doesn't matter. But even if we got Anfield and we win with a last-minute deflected goal, against a run of play, the fact that we've got Liverpool and won, for me, that shows that mentality's changed. Yes, we need to repeat it in these other big away games that we've got to come in the new year. Of course, we've got to back it up, but that will start to really make me believe in this team and with this manager that I haven't believed before, because of what I've seen in my eyes in front of me. That's it. Terry says, yes, my dad used to pop in every now and then, but he's losing his nut and can't remember how you put YouTube. I know he's here. I hope he's okay, because I used to enjoy his little comments as well. So he says, got him a dodgy fire stick, and that's all he knows how to work. Well, that's fair, as long as he can watch the games. Terry says, to be fair, I just can't see us winning anything under Arteta. I really hope I'm wrong. Yeah, that's how I've been feeling. But I think on Saturday there's a big opportunity to change it, isn't there? Terry says, if we have a good January transfer window, I think we could do it. But yes, there's a big but. Absolutely, there is. Yeah. Terry says, do you think Arteta will chuck the FA Cup away again for the league? It's a shame that the drawn us against Liverpool again, isn't it? I suppose it's an opportunity for Arteta to throw it away, and no one's going to really be that bothered because it's like, well, it's Liverpool. It's not like we're playing like last year. We had Oxford. We had to beat Oxford because it was Oxford, and then we got City away. Well, if we lose City away, no one thinks, oh, we haven't thrown it away. We've just lost to a decent team. If we lose to Liverpool, we've lost to a decent team. No one's that bothered. I'll be bothered. I love the FA Cup, but it's an easy out, isn't it? It's the worst. In a way, it's the worst draw we could have got because it's just an easy out. All those people that will back Arteta to the hilt regardless. Oh well, it doesn't matter. It's Liverpool we've lost to. Let's worry about winning the league. Unless we win the league. Dan says here we have a new scout who's looking at South American players. Well, we've got enough South American players already, haven't we? And I don't think it's a new thing, is it? You know, Alexis Sanchez and people like that. We've always had Edu and you know what we've always had Gilberto Silva. Dan says, and I see this Super League crap is back. Or yeah, this is something I didn't want to touch on. I don't want to go too much into it yet because it's still in the early stages, but it never went away. It never went away. The way that came out originally was it 2021, wasn't it? That was done on purpose to get a reaction. It got the reaction that I think everybody knew it would get. The UEFA knew it would get. FIFA knew it. Everybody knew it would get that reaction, right? So it was just it never went away. They're always going to do it. Look at next season's Champions League, the format of it already with their bigger group and all that kind of stuff. You know, one league and it's the top 8 go for that kind of stuff. They were bringing it in anyway, and now they're going to be bringing this in. You know, it makes me laugh today looking on social media. You've got all these teams coming out saying, "Oh well, we're against it." Man United, "Oh, we're against it." As soon as they get offered money at the minute, they'll be in it. Of course they will. They're not going to not be in it. Are they? Arsenal going to be in it 100%. You know, I don't want Arsenal to be in it. I'd rather we had nothing to do with it. But it's silly to think that we're not going to enter it. Everybody's going to enter it. Everybody that's invited is going to enter it. Whatever they say now, they'll be incentivized to enter, won't they? Or not even incentivized to enter. They will be, but it'll more be like, well, if you don't enter, you're going to miss out on all of this. So of course they'll enter. Of course they will. It's just made me laugh. Oh, we have nothing to do with it. The only reason why they're coming out and saying it is that they don't get the fans' backs up. That's all it's about, keeping the fans happy. Oh, at least so Man United fans go, oh, well, you know, at least the club put up a protest and didn't want to enter. Rubbish. Of course they want to enter. When they get the right offer, they'll enter. Don't worry about that. Everybody will. And yeah, it's just the next. I think this is the first big step forward to basically ending domestic competition as we know it. I'm not saying domestic competition is going to end. They won't, but as we know it. So, for example, what you're going to get is you're going to get what they've wanted anyway, which is basically a European league. It won't even be a European league. Saudi teams have been in it as well. So it'll be like you can't really call it a world league, but it's going to be, that's what's going to happen. So you're going to have the top teams from Spain, Italy, England, Germany, Saudi Arabia, Portugal, all these different, France, Portugal, whatever it is, all these different, it's going to be a league system, right? So, and that'll be it. And there'll still be like a Premier League, if you like, but the top English teams won't be in it. So Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool, Man United, they won't be in the Premier League. They'll be in this European league unless they got relegated back into your domestic league. That's how it's going to work. That's what's going to happen. And I would say within 10 years, this is what we'll be looking at. So there'll be a big Super League, if you like, a European league. And then the domestic leagues will be everybody else. So it might give opportunities for now teams that are non-league to be into the league pyramid because they'll get into the bottom divisions. They'll get into League Two in, say, in England, for example. There'll be more spaces in League Two because they'll have to open it up to fill the gaps when the top teams move out into the European League. But from a fan's perspective, we're not going to be playing against Brentford. We're not going to be playing against Luton. And some people might say, well, that's a good thing. I don't want to play Brentford and Luton anyway. But for me, that's what it's all about. That's what we all grew up in. We grew up watching our team play against all these teams from England, the English league. That's what we want. I don't want to see Arsenal playing Barcelona and Real Madrid and Juventus every week. It's nice to play them occasionally in Europe in a two-legged game or potentially a group stage game, whatever it is. That's fine. That's not what I want my season to be. I want my season to be playing Luton away on a Tuesday night in December. That's what I want. That's what it's all about. But I think that's going to end. And it would be such a shame, wouldn't it? It really would be a shame. But I think that's where this is going. And I think within 10 years, I'd be amazed if the Premier League has got the teams in it now that it's got. I just think that the top ones won't be in it anymore. They'll all be in that European League because that's where the money will be. That's where the TV will be. That's where everything will be. And that's where it'll be literally the money that will do it. They'll be offered enough money to do it, and it will make sense to the clubs. Yes, what will happen to the crowds? Well, obviously, we'll still have the same amount of home games, but instead of playing Bournemouth at home, we'll be playing Bayern Munich at home. Instead of playing Sheffield United at home, we'll be playing Atletico Madrid at home. It'll be just like that way. So the home games won't make any difference at all. And the away games, it'll be more fun. People say, "Oh yeah, we're going to Europe." And instead of going through people's back gardens to get into Luton away end, you can fly to Spain or France. Wouldn't that be better? Yeah, it'd be more expensive. And you wouldn't be able to do that every single game, would you? I mean, some people might. But that's where it's going to be heading. Absolutely 100%. And there'll be a load of people loads of fans will support that because they say, I don't want to go to Luton. I don't want to go to that crap ground. I don't want to go to Bournemouth. I want to go to Real Madrid. I want to go to Juventus. I want to go to all these other places. That is what's going to happen. So get used to it. I personally won't really enjoy that at all. I won't really enjoy that at all. I'll end up probably going and watching non-league. I watch non-league football now anyway, and women's football. I just hope women's football don't go down the same route, if I'm honest, because that will spoil it completely, won't it? Terry says they are saying every club in it are going to make around 600. Exactly, there you go. Every club's offered 600 million. They're not going to turn around and say, we're not going to do it. Of course they are. Every club that gets offered the opportunity to do it will do it. Whatever they say on social media today is all rubbish. Every single one of them clubs will be in it. If they're offered enough money, they'll jump without even thinking. And when it comes down to bidding off the Premier League or bidding off domestic leagues to go into that, absolutely they will. Absolutely they will. As long as they keep relegation options and promotion options open, no one can really have too many complaints about it. So, for example, the bottom 2 or 3, say if in the European Super League, if say, I don't know, Real Madrid finished bottom, Man City finished second bottom, and I don't know, Juventus finished third bottom, then each of those 3 teams drop back into their domestic league, and then the winners of those 3 leagues get promoted into the European Super League. And that's how it works. That's what's going to happen. And that is exactly what's going to happen. That is football, and that is a football of the future. And it might mean that different teams can win our Premier League, for example. You might get someone like Brentford might win the Premier League in 10 years' time because none of the big teams will be in it. But the prize isn't going to be as important, is it? No one's going to really care. If none of the English teams get relegated, Brentford could win the Premier League. They'll never get into that Super League because there won't be a place open to them because no English clubs got relegated out of it. You see what I mean? So it's going to make that competition nowhere near as valuable and important. So you might get more teams winning it, different teams winning it, which might be nice for their fans temporarily, but ultimately that tournament's not going to mean as much because it's all going to be about trying to get into the European League and winning that European League because that's what's going to matter, isn't it? And all this history that we've had of winning 13 league titles, Liverpool have winning 19 league titles, all that kind of stuff, is going to be irrelevant because we're not going to be in that league anymore. And then we're going to have to start again with no league titles in the European League until we get 1 or 2, if we ever do. Who knows? Anyway, Gunnar there says, plus a shooting about the TV. Yeah, exactly. The TV money as well. Yeah, exactly. Terry says, that's what made the FA Cup so good, playing well in United. Teams like that. Exactly. I mean, I don't know what happened with the FA Cup, actually. Whether the teams in the European Super League would still enter the FA Cup. Probably not. Because they wouldn't be part of the FA, would they? They'd be at the minute, they're all registered with the FA, aren't they, for the Premier League? Whereas they wouldn't be, would they? They'd be registered with the European, with FIFA, or UEFA, whatever it is. UEFA it'd be, wouldn't it? So would they be able to enter the FA Cup? I don't know. It might mean that different teams win that as well. No, you're right. I mean, I always loved that. Yeah, when you every time, even now, in the third, we had the third round draw a couple of weeks ago, and I was hoping for a little team away from home, not Liverpool at home. That's just a crap draw. You don't want to draw like that, do you? You want to play a small team away from home. That's what it's about, absolutely. And it would be a shame if that was to end. But my fear, and I've really, really strongly fear this is going to happen. That's the future. That is going to be the future of football. And for the big clubs, I mean, and obviously as a fan of a big club, that doesn't fill me with much excitement at all. In fact, the complete opposite. I'm not as interested in going to games now as I was, and I definitely wouldn't be interested in going to them games. No chance. Just wouldn't interest me at all, and I wouldn't get the same excitement out of it because I would probably end up either going to more women's games. Well, that stays as it is, and non-league. I love non-league football, and I'll probably not just doing that. So he says, sorry, I meant Herne Bay FC. Yeah, Herne Bay FC would be good, wouldn't it? Herne Bay FC against Arsenal in the FA Cup. Wouldn't that be something, wouldn't it? Not that it's probably ever going to happen. But no, you're right. Absolutely. That's what the FA Cup has always been about, isn't it? The giant killings, all that kind of stuff. It's what we love. Do you remember when Sutton United beat Coventry? You know, that was brilliant, wasn't it? To watch that game, it was like, wow. You know, those things like that happened. It was brilliant. And it would be a shame to lose that, wouldn't it? You know, but I've got a feeling this is the start of the end. This is the beginning of the end, actually. Daz, I didn't enjoy the last few Champions League finals with 2 English teams in final. Granted, they're on the right to be there, but it's boring. Yeah, it is in a way. I agree. You want to see a European, you know, if Arsenal got to a Champions League final again, you know, last time we played Barcelona, that's what you want. You want a European team, don't you? If we get to a final again, even like this year, the final's at Wembley, you don't want the final to be at Wembley, do you? What you want is, if I'm going to go and watch Arsenal in the European final, like we did in 2006, in 2008, in 94, 95, all that kind of stuff, 2000, you want to go somewhere abroad because that's what it's about, isn't it? You don't want to go to Wembley and see your team in the Champions League final. Not if you're an English team. It'd be nice for other teams coming over to Wembley to play there. We've been to Wembley hundreds of times, and that's for the FA Cup finals. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to play a Champions League final. So in a way, I mean, obviously, it'd be great to be in a Champions League final again, and it'd be easier to get to, wouldn't it? If we're at Wembley as opposed to being in Baku like last time. But to me, I don't get the same. I won't get the same excitement from Arsenal being a Champions League final at Wembley than I would if we were playing in, I don't know, Poland or somewhere, Gdansk or wherever it might be, or somewhere, I don't know, it wouldn't be Russia, would it probably, but, you know, just somewhere, you know, Hungary or somewhere like that, you know, Budapest or somewhere, you know, be nice to be having a final or somewhere. You've got to travel somewhere into Europe for it. That's what it's about, isn't it? You know, going to Paris, and that was brilliant. So, yeah, I mean, but anyway, yeah, it's not the same. Yeah, and if you did imagine if it was Arsenal Man City at Wembley in the Champions League final, it'd just be like the FA Cup final, wouldn't it? Really? Yes, it's the Champions League Cup you'll be winning, you'll be playing for, but it would just be like the FA Cup final, wouldn't it? I'm not saying that'd be a bad thing, but what I'm saying is it's not the same mystique and glamour of a Champions League final. If I'm going to see Arsenal play a Champions League, we played Barcelona last time. I want to see us play Bayern Munich in Spain or somewhere, Madrid or somewhere. You know what I mean? That's what I want to be going. I don't want to be going to Wembley to see Arsenal play Man City. And so he says nothing to do with the beer you've been drinking. Dad says lying on the bed, excuses. I don't know about your spelling mistakes, mate. Don't worry about that. Yeah, maybe it's an extra beer. Why not? But yeah, I mean, all that's for the future, and it doesn't fill me with much excitement, if I'm honest. But let's see what happens. Maybe it won't go like that in the end. Maybe they'll see sense and they'll realise that domestic leagues are what it's all about, and having strong domestic leagues in all the different countries is better than having one European league and everybody else fighting for the scraps, if you like. Hopefully they'll see sense. That's what I'm hoping. We've got Neil with us. Hey there, my friend. Good to see you. He says, so I couldn't make the show, Rich. Hope all is well. I'm confident about Saturday, as long as the players don't let the crowd influence the game. Yeah, last season, Jack and Trent before I set our clock. I mean, see, I was saying it before, Neil, that for me this year, there's no excuses in terms of we need to go to Anfield, and whether the crowd are up for it, whether there's bound to be stuff on the pitch. There's bound to be incidents on the pitch. It's a big game, the top 2 teams in the league. No one's going to want to give an inch in that game. So I think we will see a few little tackles. We'll see a few incidents on the pitch, and the crowd are going to get involved and get excited, and there's going to be a noise and all that kind of stuff, right? What we've got to do is we've got to rise above that and still be able to play our game and get the result. And if we can't do that, if the crowd are too much for us, and we can't handle that, we're never going to be able to win these trophies, are we? We've got to be able to deal with that. So I actually hope that there is loads of that going on. I hope it is one of them sort of games where there's tackles flying in, there's pushing and shoving at the players, the crowd get up for it. I hope it is that sort of atmosphere. And we go there and win in that atmosphere. Then it's like, well, we can handle that. We can handle anything. And we can come out and win. And that's what I want to see. If it's a really tame game, I don't think it will be. It's too important. But even if it was a really tame game with no, with none of that going on, and the crowd are really quiet, and then we win, it's like, well, okay, it's a great result, but we didn't have to deal with all the other stuff. I want us to go there. You remember Newcastle the other year when it was their last home game of the season, and the crowd were up for it. There was that mad atmosphere, and we crumbled. And I want to see us go to Anfield with a mad atmosphere and not crumble and come out on top and say, yes, this shows that we can deal with this and we can win these games in the future, because we haven't done it before. We haven't won these games in those type of atmospheres, have we? Not very often, hardly ever. And I want to see us do it. I really want to see us do it on Saturday. And this is a great opportunity, because to me, this is a top Liverpool team in top form. So it's not like there's any excuses. We can't, even me, and you know, Neil, I've not been Mikel Arteta's biggest fan. I've not been the biggest fan of the mentality of this team. I've always believed that they're going to crumble. Even I won't. Last season, if we won at Liverpool, you could say, well, it wasn't the best Liverpool team. They finished fifth. They wasn't as strong. All this, that, and the other. You could, those little excuses were there. But this, for me, on Saturday, there's no excuses. If we win on Saturday, we've won and we've proved a point. And I'll hold my hands up and say I was wrong about this team. They have got the mentality. They need to do it again and again. We'll need to do it in the other games afterwards. But for now, I'll be like, yes, that's shown it. That has shown me that we can deal with this pressure, these real pressure situations when everything's against us, the crowd are against us. It's one of them sort of games. It's Alamo type of game away from home, and we come out on top. I've not seen us do that with this manager and with this team. I've not seen us do that yet, and that's what I want to see. I want to see us do it. Aston Villa, we crumbled. Newcastle, we crumbled. Let's not crumble at Liverpool. Let's do it, man. Let's go there and do it. Dan's gone 2-1 Arsenal. Well, there you go. You see, Dan knows what he's on about. Dan's got it right, hasn't he? Let's see. I mean, it'd be nice, wouldn't it? Neil says, yeah, we have to win. No excuses. I totally agree. Yeah. I mean, I don't know about we have to win. I think a draw wouldn't be a disaster. It keeps us above Liverpool. But I just think for the statement it would show, if we go there and win, wow. I mean, that to me would be a big change in my mindset for it all. Neil says that's a really good point, and you're right. If we can't do it at a place like Anfield, we'll never do it anyway. Exactly, yeah. For me, it's our biggest test, and it's the biggest test because it's a place where we always lose. I know last year we drew, but you know what I mean. It's that sort of place for us, isn't it? A bit like Old Trafford, isn't it? We just never get a result there. And this is a very good Liverpool team at the peak. You know, they're at home. They haven't lost at home for 20 games. You know, 17 wins and 3 draws in the last 20 games at Anfield in all competitions. You know, if we go there and win, that is saying something. That is a statement, isn't it? Neil's gone. Same as Dan, 2-1. Well, okay. Terry says, Mr. Motivator, what's your prediction for the weekend? Do you mean me, or is that Neil? I think you mean Neil. Neil's got 2-1. What's your prediction then, Terry? I know that you're expecting us to win. Neil says, no, true, a draw will be good. As you said, a statement of intent. Exactly, yeah. I mean, I would take a draw right now. I said that before we played Aston Villa. I'll take a draw. I said it before Newcastle. I'll take a draw because those big away games are where you've got to try and get something. You don't want your rivals to gain 3 points on you. You've got to get something from those games, haven't you? So I would take a draw on Saturday. Absolutely. Now I will take a draw 100%. Once the game starts, if it's like last year, we're 2-0 up in 20 minutes. The draw is not enough. As we saw last year, it's not. But at this moment in time, I would definitely take a draw. Dan says there he's going to say nil 10. Terry says no, he's gone 3-1. Is that 3-1 to Arsenal or 4-0 to Liverpool? One of those two outcomes. Well, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I actually think it's going to be a really, really tight game. I think it's going to be a tight game either way. You know, I'm looking at something like, you know, we've had a couple of 2-1s to Arsenal. I wouldn't be surprised if it was 2-1 either way or a draw, like a 1-1 or a 2-1 either way. None of those 3 results would surprise me particularly. I don't think it's going to be a big win for either team. I think both teams are in a good place, playing well at this moment in time overall. Yes, we had a poor result at Villa, but we've been playing pretty well. Liverpool are in great form at home. Yes, the Man United game was. We're not going to go to Anfield, are we, and play like Man United did? We're not going to play like that because that's not what we do. Whether or not we should, that's a discussion to be had. I don't think we should because we don't play like that generally. And you can't. Sometimes you have to adapt to the to your opposition, who you're playing, and the circumstances. And we've not done that enough. Sometimes I felt we've tried to play our game a bit like maybe Arsene Wenger used to do as well. We'd go and play our game, and in some games it's not going to work. And Liverpool away, you'd think we're not going to be able to play our possession game. It's going to be more like the Man City game at the Emirates, isn't it? Where we were quite happy to give up possession and play on a counter-attack. And I think that might suit us at Anfield because Liverpool will be quite happy to have the ball, put us under pressure the way that they do. So I think it's going to be that type of a game. Can we deal with it? Can we get the result? I hope so. I really do. We'll have to see. Terry said, "Dad, it's Neil's fault. I got to get excited." Yeah, I think you do. You get excited every time Neil's in with us. But no, I mean, I think that's what we need to see. Neil says, "Yeah, lads, the difference for me this season to last at Anfield is Rice. He's just an incredible signing, and he's super hungry to leave." No, I mean, 100%. I mean, Declan Rice has been an incredible player for us. Absolutely every single. I mean, I've pretty much voted him man of the match every single game this season, virtually, because that's how good he's been. He's just absolutely brilliant. And yes, that is a difference. 100% agree. That's a big difference. I don't think Saliba played at Anfield last season either, did he? I think that was just after he got injured, wasn't it? I think did he play? I don't think he did he? Anyway, Declan Rice is a difference, but when you go to Anfield, it isn't just about one player making a difference. Everybody's got to make a difference, haven't they? And Declan Rice will make us stronger. It's not really in the midfield area that I'm particularly worried about. It's more in the wide areas for me. Our fullbacks against their wide players is my concern defensively for us. But equally going forward, I think we can, from our wide positions, we can cause them problems. And it's going to be quite the same, isn't it? It's going to, I think we're going to sit back a little bit more than normal. Let Liverpool have the ball. We'll keep a good defensive shape, hopefully, and then we'll look to play on the counter attack and create chances and stuff like that. A little bit to how we did in the first 25 minutes last year at Anfield. It worked, didn't it? We picked them off on the counter attack and scored. Neil says, you might be right about Saliba. If that's the case, that's a massive boost. Yeah, I can't remember exactly. It was around about that time, wasn't it? I don't know if it was, because obviously it was a sporting game and got injured. I can't remember if that was. No, I think he was. I think he was out for that Saliba. I'm sure. Was it? Because Rob Holding would have played. Did Rob Holding play at Anfield? I can't remember that. We'll have to check. But anyway, obviously Declan Rice didn't play. We know that for a fact. But we'll see. Neil says, I've got a good feeling about Martinelli on Saturday. He did score last year at Anfield, didn't he? He scored that great goal, didn't he? Last season. So, yeah. And I think Klopp always praise him as well. And I think maybe sometimes that's a good motivator for a player, isn't it? When you know the opposition manager rates you, you want to show them, don't you, how good you are sometimes. But it's going to be a fascinating game, no doubt about that. It's definitely the biggest game of the season so far. The top two teams playing each other. Everyone says, "Oh, Man City and Liverpool's the biggest game." Well, no. In the last few seasons, it has been. Not this season. At this moment in time, Liverpool against Arsenal is the biggest game of the season. So far, absolutely it is, and it's our biggest test of the season by a mile as well. Let's see whether we can come out on top. Neil says Klopp loves him, but can't have him. No, exactly. He can't have him. No. But he would. He'd give him a chance. And Saka as well. He's always praising Saka, isn't he? And obviously those two are going to be important for us in the same way that obviously Mo Salah is going to be really important, obviously, for Liverpool, isn't he? So it is going to be fascinating, and obviously Darwin Núñez as well. But yeah, I mean, it's a game. The two best teams in the country so far this season. The two teams that's what scored the most goals, I think, or virtually scored the most goals. So it should be a really good game of football, and I think that's obviously important as well. But I just want to see us go there, and I say prove the doubters, which includes me, wrong about the mentality of this team. That's what I want to see. I want to see us go there and win, and I don't care how we do it, really, as long as we go there and we can win. And then I think that the message that sends out, first of all, is an important message to everybody else in the league, and also as well, I think the confidence that we will gain from that can be really important moving into the second half of the season when the pressure's really on. If we can come out of Anfield with a win when Liverpool could go top of the league by beating us, that's the sort of mentality that the Invincible team had, wasn't it? Do you remember when we went to Anfield that time? There was, I think it was that might have been in 2002, actually, wasn't it? When I think Liverpool were top of the league and we went to Anfield and beat them with 10 men. Do you remember that? And that's that sort of mentality that in them days, we took that for granted almost. We knew that's what the team could do. We knew they'd go. We wasn't scared of going away to Liverpool. We wasn't scared of going away to Man United. When we had Thierry Henry and Dennis Bergkamp, all them players, we wasn't scared of going to these places. And we knew that the mentality was there we didn't always win, but you knew they had the right mentality, that they weren't going to buckle under the pressure. And And that's what this team now has got to show. You know, and they've shown that, you know, we can play some nice football. We've got some very technically gifted football players. There's no doubt about that. And we've got a system that Arteta's worked on and worked on and worked on that is working for the team. But there's still that question mark over the mentality in these type of games. But Saturday's the opportunity to put that right in it. And Neil says it will be massive. Already beating City and then Liverpool away, Invincibles, Wenger's golden era vibes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know, we never doubted that team's mentality, did we? Ever. I never doubted the mentality of that team. They didn't always play that well sometimes, but I never doubted their mentality. And this team that's the one big question mark for me. And what an opportunity we've got on Saturday to say, you know what, we've got that right now. We've rectified those issues that we've had, even as recently as 3 weeks ago at Villa Park. We played okay that day. We played pretty well, but we still lost. And even if we play really well at Liverpool and we still lose, that doesn't show the improvements that we need in these type of games. That'll be 3 big away games, 3 defeats, no matter how well we play. We could dominate that game again. I'm not saying that's going to be the way it'll play out, but we could dominate the game against Liverpool. We could have 10 great chances to score, don't take our chances and end up losing the game. And everyone will be saying, oh, well, we played well. We were unlucky, as they did against Aston Villa. Yeah, that may well be the case, but we've still lost the game, as we lost the game at Aston Villa, as we lost the game at Newcastle. We can't keep losing these big games, regardless of how well we play. I'd rather we don't play particularly well and scrape a 1-0 or do. At least that's showing a strong mentality, isn't it? Because you're finding a way to win. Finding a way to lose has been too easy for us in these games. And Aston Villa being the most recent example. We found a way to lose that game despite playing well and creating chances. We still lost. We can't afford to do that on Saturday. Not really. Otherwise, it's the same old story. So, but let's see. Anfield has brought us some great memories over the years, hasn't it? I was going to do a show this week, actually, just looking at literally Arsenal versus Liverpool memories, because there's so many of them. The Arshavin game, of course, what a night that was. That was brilliant, that. When Arshavin scored them 4 goals. That League Cup tie won 6-3. These are more recent games, I suppose, of course. 89 we've already spoken about at length this evening, as I knew we would. It's just been, for me, growing up in the late 70s watching football and into the 80s when Liverpool were the team to beat, I believe, and I've said it before, Arsenal versus Liverpool game is the biggest game of any season, regardless of how well or badly the teams are doing. That's my favourite match of the season, Liverpool against Arsenal. Those 2 games, for me, they're the best games of the season. They're the ones I look forward to probably the most, because it's always that fixture for me. Liverpool, growing up with Liverpool being the best team, that's just stuck with me. And I don't know, for me, it's the biggest fixture of the season, Liverpool against Arsenal. For me personally, I'm not saying everybody should be the same. For me personally, it's the biggest fixture of the season. And to beat Liverpool means a little bit more. I don't know if it's just me or if it's fans of my age, my era. Beating Liverpool means a little bit more than beating pretty much anybody else. Maybe Tottenham, the only exception to that, but they've never really been rivals for anything in terms of winning trophies on the pitch for us. Beating Liverpool means something still now, even though that rivalry from the 80s is not really there, hasn't been. This might be the start of a new one, but it hasn't been now. But beating Liverpool still, it feels nice to beat Liverpool still for me, and obviously doing it away from home in a game like this. Would be incredible, wouldn't it? Neil says, you're right, even if we have 100% possession but don't win, doesn't mean it doesn't know. It's all about getting a result in a game like this. And we need to play the game in the way to win it. Whether that's trying for the possession football, which I don't think we will, whether it's looking to play on a counter-attack, which may be more effective, or whether it's just battling it out and matching them, going toe-to-toe with them and just slogging it out with them if that's what it takes. Do whatever it takes to win that game. That's what I want to see us do. However the game plays out, whether the crowd are into it, whether the clock goes mad on the sidelines, whatever happens, we need to just battle it out and win and show that we can do it. That's what I want to see. And then I'll have a happy Christmas then, absolutely. Neil says, I think overall Liverpool, Arsenal for me too, but in the Prem, Man United. I mean, I would say that the difference for me is, obviously the Man United games were the big games in the Premier League for that long period of time. probably the biggest rivalry in the Premier League. But the fact that Man United have dropped so far away for such a long time now, they've not been really challenging much for a long time, have they? So they've almost that game's become less and less important as time's gone on. But with Liverpool, even when Liverpool haven't been winning trophies and Arsenal haven't been winning trophies, Liverpool have still been there around, haven't they? You know what I mean? They're challenging for the Champions League, or they're winning cups, or they're doing something. They're always a big team, Liverpool, regardless, I think. So for me, that game has stood the test of time, and now it's coming back again. And maybe this season is going to be the start of some more great rivalries between us and Liverpool, which I've always enjoyed. You know, I think Liverpool's a big club, a proper club. You know, I know they've changed Anfield ground a lot, but it's still a great venue for football, all those kind of things. And I just, for me, it's just a game with so much history and so much meaning. And I think I'll always feel like that about it. And I say beating Liverpool to me just feels that a little bit more special, just because of growing up all those years as a kid, seeing Liverpool dominate and winning everything. It just means a little bit more to me when we beat them. I can remember the first time I saw Arsenal beat Liverpool was 1984, September at Highbury. And Liverpool won the league. What we talk about Man City, they'd won it 3 years in a row. I think they'd won the European Cup the season before as well. They were at their peak, that Liverpool team. And we started the season well, and I'll always remember it at Highbury. Brian Talbot scored a free kick just for half time, put us 1-0 up on the clock in. I was on the clock in that day, and we beat them 3-1. And that was literally at that time that we were top of the league, actually. The first time I'd ever seen Arsenal top of the league. We beat Liverpool to do it. And that at that time, obviously, that's before all the trophies came along later on. But at that time, that was literally the best game I'd ever seen watching football, the best moment I'd ever had watching Arsenal at that time. And it was, you know, it was beating Liverpool, and that's unheard of. It was unheard of. We never beat Liverpool. And when Brian Talbot scored that free kick, right, just on half time, literally, I still don't even think to this day there's been a better celebration at Highbury ever that I've experienced ever at Highbury. That was just incredible. That was such a great day. And I remember it now as though it was yesterday, honestly. And that was what it meant to beat Liverpool then. And it's still like that now. And I want to feel like that on Saturday as well. Neil says that rivalry between Fergie and Wenger will never be matched. No, it won't. No, you're right. I mean, that was a brilliant time and a brilliant rivalry it was at that time. But it was for those 10 years or 15 years, whatever it was. And that was it. Whereas Arsenal, Liverpool, for me, goes back a lot longer, and it's still the same now. It's just a longer rivalry, isn't it? Neil says spot on, which may not been the same. No, it hasn't. It's not been the same. Such good memories. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the 80s saw that shift, didn't it, from Liverpool, winning everything, to Arsenal taking over. You know, my first ever trophy that I witnessed live was the League Cup in '87. Who did we beat in the final? Liverpool. There you go. First time I'd ever saw us win the league. '89. Who did we beat to win the league? Liverpool. You know, I just think that's just ingrained in me, and I just that rivalry is too great. Yes, you know, Man United, we had some great battles with them, absolutely, but I don't know. The first time I'd ever see us go top of the league, we beat Liverpool to do it. First trophy, Liverpool. First league title, Liverpool, we beat. You know what I mean? It's just that's what I've grown up with. That's what shaped me. Maybe, I don't know. So yeah, that's basically that, really. Neil says just never saw them lose. No, we didn't. They did win everything, didn't they? And when you beat him, it was like, well, exactly, yeah. Yeah, Neil says same memories as you. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know we're similar age, mate, aren't we? So we've experienced it all. But yeah, that's just how it's been. So Liverpool have always played a massive part in my kind of football journey, if you like. You know, Arsenal, Liverpool, and playing games against Liverpool and beating Liverpool have been so. It's brought me so many great memories in the past, and nothing's really ever matched that against anybody. You know, on that, yeah, obviously there's been matches against Tottenham that we've beaten, big games, cup semi-finals, all that kind of stuff, brilliant. But Tottenham have never been league champions. They've never been a top team. They've never won a European Cup. So we've never played against Tottenham when they were the reigning champions, or they were the reigning European Cup winners, and then beating them the next year. We've never done that with Tottenham, but we've done that with Liverpool on more than one occasion, and that's what makes it so, for me, makes it so important a game. And that's why I'm so looking forward to this game on Saturday. Really, really looking forward to it, like more than I've looked forward to a game for a long, long time. Because this game, it means something for this season. It means something to me. And it means something. It's an opportunity for this team to show everybody that we've got that mentality sorted out now, and we can go away and win these sort of games. Because so far this season, we've not done it. We need to start doing it, and we need to start on Saturday. What a message that will be, what a Christmas it will be. So he says, it's Christmas time, heroin and wine, kids out doing petty crime, your dad's still in prison, your mum's still in school. That's what it's like supporting Liverpool. I mean, it's quite funny too, but it's not really that good, is it, when you think about it? But you're right. But no, I mean, you know, let's be honest, Liverpool, the city of Liverpool isn't quite as destitute as it used to be when we were growing up. And like you said, that's where that song came from. I mean, I think Liverpool it's a great place now. We've been there a few times for various different things, not only football, and it's a great place. You know, obviously, I love the Beatles and the Cavern, all that kind of stuff. It's got a great. I've always liked Liverpool for its history as well, and yeah, it's a historic place. It's an historic football team, and it's a historic match whenever we play them, and it is going to be great on Saturday. And I say I'm really looking forward to it. I suppose I'm going to have to give a score prediction. Everybody else has given your score predictions. You're all fairly confident, actually. I personally, deep down inside my head, is telling me draw. It's got a draw written all over it, this game, for me. You know, 1-1 is what I'm thinking. But I don't know. I want to believe that I've been wrong about the mentality of this team, and I've been wrong about our ability to get a result in a game like this. So I'm going to say we're going to win. I'm going to say it's going to be 2-1. It's going to be a very, very tense, nervy game, and we're going to find a way. I believe we're going to find a way. Somehow, whatever it is, we'll find a way to win this game. Whether it's hanging on at the end, whether it's getting a late winner against the run of play, whatever it is, I think we'll find a way. So I'm going to go 2-1, but if it's a draw, I wouldn't be disappointed necessarily, unless, like last year, we're 2 up. Neil says head 2-2, heart 2, and yeah, I'm kind of feeling the same. I'm kind of feeling. I want us to make a statement in this game. That's what I want to see us do. I want to see us go there and win and show that we can do it. Because everyone who doubts it, and it's not just me. There's loads of people that do doubt the mentality of this team when it matters. I want to be wrong, and I want this team on Saturday to prove me wrong. So that's what I'm looking forward to, and I believe they'll do it. I really do. I believe we can do it. No, I don't believe we will do it. I believe we can do it. Whether we will or not, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I kind of think my head saying draw, shouting, my head screaming draw to me. It's absolutely screaming. It's going to be a draw, and I wouldn't necessarily think that's too bad. But I really do want to see us go there and win. Let's do it. Let's do it, man. Let's go and win. Come on. Let's do it. So yeah, it's going to be the game of the season. There's no doubt about that. It's going to be tense. It's going to be very exciting, but it's going to be good. So I'll be here, of course, for the game. Absolutely, as you would expect. Neil says, "Lads, we can do this. Who knows? It could be an incredible 90 minutes, and we win 5-2. Don't turn into Terry. Come on. I mean, that's the sort of thing Terry would say, wouldn't he? That we're going to win 5-2 at Anfield. But to be honest, I'll take a scrappy 1-0. That'll do me all day long. But yeah. Let's have a good game. That'll do for me." Terry says, "A win for me, otherwise I'm going to be well paid off." Well, no, I mean, I don't think we can. It depends how the game plays out. If we lose 4-0, like we've done many times before, we've conceded like three and a half goals on average on their last 12 visits to Anfield over that period of time. If it goes like that again, I will be very annoyed. But if it's a really good game, we go there and we play well, we give them a decent game, it could go either way, and maybe we end up losing. But unfortunately, yes, it hasn't changed anything mentality-wise, but I wouldn't be overly annoyed. But I think we can do it. I really do. So let's do it, man. Let's do it. So I'll be here at 5:15 for the build-up. It's going to be exciting. We're going to get quite excited about this game, I'm sure. So join us for that. Tomorrow night, actually, what we've got planned, we've got the women's show review of the year 2023. Now, I'm hoping that we're going to do that, but at 7:30. But Andreas has come down with some heavy cold. Now, he was at the Bayern Munich women's game the other night, so he's probably picked something up from there. So he's going to see how he is. Obviously, if Andreas isn't up to doing the show, then we'll postpone it till next week. It will still be in 2023, so it's fine. Hopefully he'll have a bit of a rest, a few limb sips, and he'll be ready to go tomorrow. So we'll find out about that. So that should hopefully be here tomorrow at 7:30. That will be the Arsenal Women's Review of 2023. We'll be giving out our end of year awards, goal of the year, player of the year, signing of the year, all that kind of stuff. So join us for that. Hopefully tomorrow 7:30. I will obviously push it out if it's going to be. Otherwise, it will move it to next Friday to give Andreas a chance to recover. And of course, Saturday, regardless, we'll be here. We'll definitely be at Saturday, 5:15 for Liverpool against Arsenal. So please join me for that because it is going to be pretty good. Neil says there, it's been great connecting with you lads again and hope to join you soon on the show. So, yeah, please, mate. Yeah, it'd be great to have you back on. Definitely. I've missed having you on the show. It's always been great to have you. So it'd be good to get you back on in the new year. I'm going to start looking at doing a more regular Arsenal review show again. Slightly different to how we were doing it before. But, yeah, we'll have to get you back on for that. That'll be good. Terry says, if we lose, sorry, Neil, I'll take her out. Oh, dear. Good. Neil says we'll be okay. Yeah, I'm sure we'll be okay. I'm as confident as I can be going into this game. And I mean, if I might be wrong and we might lose and nothing might have changed, but I'm hoping that we're going to show something different in this game to what we've done previously in these type of games. And yeah, it's going to be good. Neil says, oh, that's so kind of it. No problem, mate. I say I've always enjoyed having you on the show, my friend. You know that. So be good. I'm going to start again. A few different things. It's been difficult to get it arranged, really, for the last few months. It's just been so tough with everything else that's been going on, really. So, but I definitely want to start it up again. So we'll be looking at doing that maybe in January and getting that going again, an Arsenal review show every week. So we'll get that sorted. Terry says, great show again, Richard. Great to see you again. Don't leave it so long next time, Neil and Dan. See you all real soon. Yeah, see you later, my friend. We'll see you Saturday, of course, if not tomorrow for the women's show. If we get that going, obviously I'll put it out for you. I've got the stream ready, set up, ready to go. Just to say, hopefully Andreas will be feeling better tomorrow. I'm sure he will. He's a tough old character, Andreas. He's not going to not do a show if he can help it. So hopefully that'll be on tomorrow 7:30. So join us for that. And of course Saturday, the big game at Anfield. All those great memories of that stadium for Arsenal, but it's about time we had some other good memories there, isn't it? We haven't won there for ages. So let's do it. Let's do it on Saturday. Let's get it done. Neil says, thanks for it. Take care of yourself, my friend. Dan says, good night to everybody. Yeah, and yourself, my friend, and to everybody watching. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday evening. And we'll see you. Obviously, most people broke up for Christmas, haven't they? Neil says, thanks, very nice to meet you, Dan. Take care, let's come on, you guys. Indeed, yeah. So enjoy the rest of your, your it feels like a Friday today, actually. It was last day at work and stuff for most people, isn't it? Till Christmas. So, but yeah, enjoy the rest of your Thursday evening. I'll be back hopefully tomorrow with the guys for the women's review of 2023. And of course, Saturday, Liverpool against Arsenal, Anfield, 5:15. Wow, 5:30 kickoff. That is going to be something special. So join me for that. Thank you for watching tonight. Give us a like before you go. Why not? And we will see you very, very soon. Take it easy, guys. Come on, you Gunners. Big weekend. Let's get it done. See you later, guys. Thanks for watching.